And while the Republicans blame Biden-Harris blamed the COVID economy and Donald Trump's mismanagement of it. But it is a close race, 50-48. We're not looking at polls anymore. I think your other guest said, this is about getting out the vote. It's election day. I just voted. And whoever has the better organization of getting all your votes out is probably going to win this election. We may not know who the winner is this evening. Maybe we'll know this week. But the bottom line is get out the vote. And the real difference on this approach by the parties, the Democrats are expanding their coalition to include conservatives, conservative women, moderate conservatives, if you will, to expand that coalition. Donald Trump's not trying to expand his coalition. He's trying to energize his base and then get low propensity voters to come out and vote who share his personality, who don't have a problem with his chaos or his criminal conduct or anything else that comes along with a really disturbing personality. You got to choose whether you're going to go forward with Kamala Harris and the future of America, or you're going to go back to Donald Trump and the chaos that comes with his leadership. We've lived through that once. I'm thinking the majority of the voters are going to move forward, but we'll have to see. It's a tight race for a reason because America is very divided right now. We'll see.
Well, joining us now, Congressman Krishna, the Democratic representative of Illinois. Thanks very much, Mr. Krishnamurthy, for being with us. Are you, in a sense, relieved that, look, it's all over? In a sense, you know, I mean, the hectic campaigning, you can say whatever you want, your opponents can say whatever they want, but look, it's the American voter which is going to decide which way it's going to go, one way or the other. Are you, in that sense, a little relieved, or are you extremely tense at this stage?
No, I think we're expectant. We're looking forward to victory tonight. I myself am on the ballot. I'm seeking a contract extension for a 5th term as a U.S. Congressman, and I hope to get my high five, so to speak, from my voters. And I think Kamala Harris is going to become the first Desi president of the United States as well.
You know, some of my panelists were suggesting that, look, it is the economy at the end of the day. Of course, the other issues are important: healthcare, foreign policy, abortion, immigration. But, you know, it's rising costs which are a huge concern. Do you share that opinion that in as much as we can discuss the other issues, for Kamala Harris, it is the issue of the economy in various way, shape or form? You know, that's what's going to decide where America is going.
I do think that people are very worried about kitchen table topics such as how do I afford higher education for my children? How do I gain access to quality, affordable health care? How do I get a job that can put me into the middle class? And they want to hear what each candidate has in store to address those issues. On the one hand, they hear Kamala Harris talk very specifically about how do they move their families forward. And on the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who really gets into a list of grievances. He has an enemies list. He talks about going after people in the administration. It's as Kamala Harris talked about the other day. On the one hand, we have an enemies list from Donald Trump, and then on the other hand, we have a to-do list with Kamala Harris. And I think people want someone to pursue their to-do list, and that's Kamala Harris.
Let's talk about a couple of important issues. Immigration. Trump was really hit out at Kamala Harris, saying that, you know, I mean, she doesn't have the ability to govern border security, immigration policies, to handle the influx of migrants. How would you respond?
Well, two things. One, Donald Trump was the one who blocked the bipartisan immigration and border deal, which would have been an incredible deal, but he decided to block it because he wanted to deny Joe Biden a political victory. So he wants to run on a problem as opposed to solve it. So the first thing is we need to put that particular border deal on the table for a vote, and I believe that Kamala Harris will sign that into law. The second thing is you should know that there are millions of legal immigrants who are in queue, including millions of Indian nationals who are H-1B visa holders and others who can't matriculate into green card status, again, because Republicans are blocking this legislation. Why do I know this? Because it's my legislation. It's my bills that are getting blocked by Republicans for consideration. So Kamala Harris and Democrats are going to move forward on that legislation finally. And I'm very hopeful that not only will we get a secure border and immigration deal because of Kamala Harris, but we'll also be able to move forward on this vital legislation which will help our economy grow and help many, many, many Indian nationals become green card holders over time as well.
Let's talk about one of the biggest issues, in your campaign, the rights of women, reproductive rights, abortion. How important is this for you and for Kamala Harris, winning the vote of women and certainly raising this as a larger human rights issue?
It's monumentally important. When I go and knock on doors and talk to even Republican women and independent voters, this is one of those issues that cause them to say, look, I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. I may not put a yard sign out advertising my support for Kamala Harris, but I'm going to vote for her nonetheless when I go into the voting booth. And I think that's why you're seeing such a surge in momentum for Kamala Harris in these final days. In Iowa, which is a solidly red state, recently the gold standard of pollsters, Ann Seltzer, showed that Kamala Harris has surged to the lead. This surprised everybody. But it doesn't surprise those of us who are talking to voters every day and asking them where do they stand. And the late-breaking votes seem to be going to Kamala Harris, in part because of this reproductive rights issue, which at the end of the day is about gender equality, which obviously the majority of the electorate feels personally in their everyday lives, since the majority of the electorate are women.
Let's talk a little bit about foreign policy. Obviously, that's key.